Let's talk about one of the boldest, most culture-shaping design agencies in the world right now, and Walsh. This isn't just a design studio, it's not just another name on the agency roster. This is Jessica Walsh's empire. It's a studio that's rewriting what leadership looks like in the graphic design industry while pumping out work that refuses to blend into the noise. Today, we're breaking it all down. We're going to look at why And Walsh matters, the project that defines them, and of course, my personal take on why this agency might be the most important cultural player in design right now. But before we get into it, I'm Ziggy the Designer. I'm a graphic designer who's worked alongside some of the world's most recognizable brands, including United Airlines, Target, and Stanford University. If you like the conversations we're having on this channel, be sure to support the show by giving this episode a like, leaving a comment below, and of course, by subscribing. Let's get into it. Design is all around us, so we might as well talk about it. So to really understand And Walsh, we gotta roll the tape back. So before And Walsh, there was Sagmeister and Walsh, one of the most influential design studios of the last decade. Stefan Sagmeister, already a design legend, right? The guy had been shaking up design since the 1990s with his raw, almost punk design energy. He wasn't just, making posters and brand identities. He was, cutting into his own skin for typography. I mean, I remember I was in college sitting in Steve Bardolph's Typography 1 class, and he showed us this. Sagmeister's work dared you to look away, but you just couldn't, and you still can't. Then 2010 hits. Enter Jessica Walsh. She joined Sagmeister's studio at just 23 years old. 2 years later, at 25 years old, Jessica Walsh is named partner. Now let's stop and think about that, right? At 25, most designers are still sweating over their AIG portfolio review. Meanwhile, Walsh was out here running a studio with one of the design greats. And partner, right, this isn't just some honorary title. Sagmeister and Walsh produced projects that defined the 2010s, right? Branding that bled into culture, campaigns that got written up in mainstream media, not just design blogs. Walsh brought this bold, digital native, hyper-saturated edge to Sagmeister's conceptual weirdness. Together, they made work that wasn't just good design, right? This was work that moved design forward. Then, come 2019, Sagmeister steps away from client work and Jessica Walsh takes the wheel, launching And Walsh. And here's the part that tells you everything you need to know. At that moment, And Walsh joined the 0.1% of women-owned creative agencies in the world. That was in 2019, not even 10 years ago. 0.1%. That's not a fun fact here. This is an indictment on the industry. Walsh's response to being a part of this 0.1%, she didn't slide into the background. She launched with visuals that were loud, surreal, and unapologetically her. This was a new chapter, a new statement, and a clear message. This isn't just business as usual. So if you really want to see the full force of And Walsh at work, look no further than their identity for Fabric, the financial platform. Now let's be real here. Finance brands are usually the opposite of exciting. I mean, you've seen the look 1,000 times, right? Blue logos, sterile sans serifs, and stock photos of people shaking hands in glass buildings. It's all designed to feel safe and trustworthy, but the trade-off is that it ends up being boring. It ends up being forgettable. Fabric, And Walsh looked at this and said, no, we're not doing any of that, old school banking stuff. Instead, And Walsh built an identity that's playful, flexible, and dare I say, cool. The visuals don't scream Wall Street. They feel more like a creative tech startup. We got bright gradients, fluid typography, a visual system that adapts and bends, reflecting Fabric's whole mission of weaving finances seamlessly into everyday life. And here's the brilliance. They didn't just slap style on top of numbers. They used design to reframe what finance could look like. Fabric and finance, if we're being totally honest, suddenly wasn't this intimidating, abstract thing. It became approachable, it became fresh. It's something you'd actually want to interact with. That is the genius of And Walsh in action. Here, they took a category where creativity usually goes to die, and they made it feel alive. They didn't just design a logo here, they designed a brand that makes money management feel modern, human, and aspirational. And that's not an easy thing to do. Most agencies, when faced with a finance brief, default to safe. I mean, come on, that's why we see so much of that classic bank style in finance. Walsh's team went bold, and in doing so, they cracked the code on how to make anything, yes, anything, even a financial platform, look and feel exciting. Now let's get into it, right? My personal take on And Walsh is that And Walsh is one of the most important agencies in design right now. Why? Because representation matters. When do we ever see independent, women-led, women-owned studios perform at this level? I mean, it's rare. Honestly, it's too rare. And that's exactly why And Walsh's presence is so powerful. In a way, it's a little rebellious, right? Jessica Walsh is building a model that proves you don't have to be, an old school giant like Interbrand or AKQA, or even a legacy ad shop like Leo Burnett to matter in this industry, right? She's carving out a space for independent studios to compete on the global stage. And let's say the thing that we're all a little too scared to say, right? We know those big conglomerate, holding company agencies don't like to see studios like And Walsh win. And to be honest, I love a good David versus Goliath like this. And to be even more honest, this just makes me love And Walsh even more. Jessica Walsh is doing something really special for the creative world with her agency here. Some people love her maximalist, hyper-saturated, expressive style. I'm in that camp myself. Some people think it's too much, right? But here's the thing. You don't build culture by playing it safe, by doing the things that have always been done. You build it by taking swings. And Jessica Walsh is swinging for the fences every single time. So that's And Walsh. From Sagmeister's legacy to Walsh's new chapter to the bold, loud projects that are shaping how we see design today. But how do you feel about And Walsh? Are they the future of creative agencies, or are they just riding the wave of a style moment? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. That's all I have for you. Be sure to support the show by giving this episode a like, subscribing, and of course by sharing this one out. I've been Ziggy the Designer. If there are two things you need to know about me, it's that one, I love design. And two, I'm very opinionated. I'll talk with y'all later. Bye-bye.